Welcome, everyone, to another edition of the Wrestling Underground podcast. I am your host, as always, Chad Porto. Joining me is the glorious one himself, Marcus Green. Marcus, how the hell are you?
Good, man. Should be a fun show.
We are a day late and a dollar short, it seems, but we are here after some delays. We have arrived at the events, and let's get started. We have two shows we want to review tonight: AEW Dynasty and MLW Battle Riot. Next week, Marcus, though, I think we're going to have a fun show. I came up with the idea. I was thinking about just doing it as a Twitter post or as a series of Twitter posts, but what I would like to do is look at wrestling grifters.
Did you know Lysol hair sanitizer is the first and only that thing product to kill net?
So, first of all, yes, I did know Lysol took care of bacteria. Second of all, there's a YouTuber that has kind of inspired this. I think it's like wrestling top 10 or top 10 wrestling, something like that. He posted a video that said the AEW world title is dead. And I'm like, that's a grifter thing to say. It's a grifter. He's a grifter. He is a rage bait grifter. And next week we are going to find our favorite grifters and talk about why grifting should never be considered legitimate.
I feel like we just talked about one major one.
Oh, did we pull back up the Booker T conversation? Cause like,
Oh, no, before him, the guy from New York.
oh, JD from New York. Oh yeah, he's gonna be on the list. We're gonna talk about all of them. Well, not all of them. There's a lot, but we're gonna talk about the grifters. We're gonna talk about the biggest, most sinful, most unintentional, most what's what I'm looking for? Ah, jeez, I can't think of it now. I had it on the tip of my tongue. Inauthentic. Well, that's a good one. I don't know if that's one I was going with, but that's a good one. These people are inauthentic in their criticisms. So, let's get talking. AEW, Dynasty. I thought it was a good show. I don't like John Moxley's title run. I don't really like John Moxley. I did, but the more and more I watch of him, the more and more I think to myself, he's not a great promo. Athletically speaking, he is the weakest of the Shield members. I definitely think that there's an argument to be made that he's not exactly the one with the highest ceiling. I think if we talk pro sports, I think he's the one with the highest floor. You know, when you look at Tyler Black and you look at Joe Anoa'i, or as you would know them now as Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns, I think they had high ceilings when they first popped up. I think Dean Ambrose did as well, but I think if they were all going to fail, I think Dean Ambrose, John Moxley, I think he would have been fine. He
Yeah,
may not have been a world champion, but had he have failed, I don't think he would have been out of the industry. Tyler Black could very easily have been like, I can't remember his name. Um, he was in WWE. He quit because he thought his shirt was racist.
the
ACH.
full race. Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah,
Wow, I haven't heard that name in years.
right. So like, if Seth Rollins had failed, he'd be like ACH. If
Well,
Roman Reigns had failed, he'd be out of the industry. If John
well,
Moxley had failed, he'd be in TNA or Ring of Honor or New Japan as a mid carder.
well, yeah, I mean, real quick, since we, kind of gotten a nice span of years with them out from the Shield, would you confidently say that all three have reached their ceilings for
Yeah.
where
Oh,
they're?
absolutely.
Yeah.
I think Roman Reigns specifically has conned people into thinking that his ceiling is as high as it is. I don't want to sit here and say that he'd be like, my ceiling is the highest ceiling that there has ever been, and no one has ever had a ceiling as high as mine. But that's kind of how I feel. Like a lot of people are like Roman Reigns is the goat. Roman Reigns is a trash wrestler with no promo skills. He's not a good actor, but they book him well. You
Yeah.
know, he's booked undeniably. But like Booker T, or no, it was a fan post. Like, look at all the titles Booker T quote unquote won. I'm like, he
That
didn't.
that wasn't a fan. That was his podcast partner.
Oh god, it's even worse. He didn't win anything. I like we know that, right? Like it's like saying that you earned an Academy Award. You didn't. They just picked who to celebrate, and on occasion, Booker T has been picked as someone to celebrate. Now listen, good hand, good wrestler. I grew up a Booker T fan, but like he didn't win a single title. He didn't. He was written in the program that he would win it. So like when you look at someone like Roman Reigns, like he was booked really
What?
well.
Yeah, who do you think of the since they've reached their ceilings to you? Who do you think had the best journey of ceiling reaching?
Moxley. I think Seth Rollins with his initial run, I think proved he shouldn't be a headliner. In fact, to this day, I don't think Seth Rollins will actually be. Like people can sit here and say he's a main eventer. That's cool. You can say that. Um, I think main eventing is like being a genuine main eventer is like saying that someone in the NBA is a franchise player. I know a lot of people are going to say like certain names or franchise players, but unless you're winning a championship or you're constantly in contention, you're not a franchise player. You're just not. And I think there, per company, there's only like 3 to 5 people per company who can really move the needle. The rest of it is brand. You're a brand. You're part of the brand. Seth Rollins is part of the brand. I think Roman Reigns can move the needle. I think they've booked him well enough and developed him well enough that he can move the needle. John Cena, The Rock, they can move the needle. CM Punk, Cody Rhodes, they can move the needle. But Seth Rollins, not so much. I don't know a lot of people who are showing up to see like Sami Zayn. They may
Yeah.
like Sami Zayn, but if Sami Zayn wasn't on the
Hmm.
card and you still had CM Punk and Cody Rhodes, yeah, you're still gonna go. There are only so many, and like TNA, I think has like 2 or 3. They have 3. They have the Hardy Boys and Joe Hendry. Those are their individual needle movers, right now. That's not to say that people like Masha or Moose or Eddie Edwards that they don't, they're not gonna bolster the brand. They are, but those 3 names can sell out anywhere at any time. Maybe not sell out, anywhere. Because like
Yeah.
if you put them in
Well,
fucking Dallas Cowboy Stadium, they're not drawing 82,000 on their own.
yeah. Bolstering and carrying is two different things.
Right. But like those 3 can move the needle. I don't think Seth can. Roman can. John Moxley could. So like I guess that's kind of how it boils down. But while we'll get to John Moxley soon enough, let's talk about the Dynasty card. My gripe, if there is one aside from the main event, I don't like using pay per views to sell tournament quarterfinals. I think if you're
Mm.
going to do a tournament quarterfinal on your event, then the event should be the tournament. Otherwise, put them on Dynamite or Collision. You know. Now that being said, Kevin Knight and Will Ospreay had a banger of a match. Fantastic. We know Kevin Knight can go. We've seen it. And I still think, and this is my opinion, we can all have different ones. I think Will Ospreay is pound for pound the best wrestler in the world, period.
Hmm.
So, like, yeah, it was a good match. I do find it hilarious that, like, he was given an opportunity to try out for the WWE. And I'm like, you needed this man to try out for you?
Yeah, that feel like one of those situations where just certain people just don't fit certain places. I think that's another conversation to have once we get to MLW talking about your guy Hamilton.
Yeah, we'll talk about him.
Yeah. But, yeah, just I mean, this he's thriving here. He's doing what he wants to do, how he wants to do it. Probably all the moves he, wants to do without probably being told he's outshining or overcutting somebody else or taking away from somebody else's popularity. I just don't know if he'd be able to get all this stuff off in WWE the way that he's doing it. I mean, look what you foreshadowed this talking about the Lucha Bros. They basically copy and pasted with them.
Yeah.
That's all they did. So,
Funny enough, Ray Phoenix debuted on SmackDown, and all of a sudden, all the people are like, Why are AEW wrestlers fighting? There's no story. You're like, oh, now all of a sudden it's like, oh my god, Ray Phoenix and I don't even know who the other dude is. Simon Fraser, Simon Aston, Fraser Ashen. I don't fucking know. He's an NXT wannabe, like who? I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden it's like, oh my god, oh look at all the flippadoos, they're telling such a good story. And I'm like, listen,
People who
as
never
good as
watch
you
Lucha
think,
Underground.
what was that?
The people who never watch Lucha Underground.
Right? Listen, as good as you want to say like Ray Phoenix is, like you can sit here and say, hey, Ray Phoenix is really good. He's really good. He's a B minus luchador. Now listen, a B minus luchador is still pretty impressive. But you have, and again, I'm going to say this because I feel like it's not said enough because we need to say it more often. You have the best athlete that Luchador or CMLL, AAA, the Crash, whomever, has had in the last 10 years in Dragon Lee. He was on Mystico level of trajectory in terms of like how big he was going to be. You have Dragon Lee on your roster, and you've made him just some random Johnny come lately, adorned with WWE gear in his matches. And I'm supposed to sit here and think, oh my God, you have Pentagon and or Penta and Phoenix, and I'm supposed to think that you're going to use them well when you can't use the best masked wrestler on the planet well?
Yeah, you know the booking's bad when part of the conversation is like they saddled him with Rey Mysterio.
And now Rey Mysterio is going to be doing a feud with Chad Gable's masked persona.
We're not gonna use the legendary, the like the epic luchadors. We're gonna make another wrestler who we should be using better a luchador instead.
God forbid you just decide to do Dragon Lee versus Rey Mysterio, or Dragon Lee versus Pentagon, or Pentagon versus fucking Rey Mysterio. Like, God forbid you do any of those combinations. No, no, no. We're gonna slick Pentagon in a forgettable 4-way, and then we're gonna have Rey Mysterio versus Chad Gable, 240 somethings. Yeah, this should. Yeah, cool. Okay, cool. Anyway, we move on from Will Ospreay defeating Kevin Knight to advance in the Owen Hart's tournament. By the by, Uh, are we supposed to find out who the mystery entrance is soon? Because like I feel like the wild card is probably going to be Josh Alexander.
Oh, okay. I didn't even see that. Yeah, shout out to Kevin Knight. That's what you call. That's what I like to call a winning loss.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, because while he did not win the match, I will say that he looked fantastic.
Yeah.
Now that being said, Gabe Kidd is going to face Josh Barnett at Bloodsport 13. Okay.
Oh, yeah, pull out the icy hat.
Right. I feel like I feel like Icy Hot's not going to be enough, right? So yeah, so I think it's going to be Josh Alexander. There's that open slot still. I don't know when they're going to announce it, but I'm sure it's going to be soon. That being said, we move on. The Hurt Business or the Hurt Syndicate versus Learning Tree. The Hurt Syndicate's over, right? They are over like Rover. But that being said, I don't feel like their tag team is very good.
Mm.
I think, and here's the thing that I think people really need to realize: it's cute. Like we can pretend. Oh my God, Shelton Benjamin and Bobby Lashley are 50, and they don't look it. Oh my God, they're still as good as they are not. Shelton drags his feet. Bobby no longer has the same explosiveness, and like that's fine. But there comes a point, and I had this conversation with a colleague of mine who's actually a wrestler for a local indie out here, and I'm like, there comes a point when you have to realize where you are in your career and what you can provide. And I think one of the things that New Japan does really well is they allow their stars, for the most part, to take a back seat and maybe get involved in lesser, known title situations. Like Hiroshi Tanahashi specifically was a never open weight 6-man champion here not that long ago. And they can do the same thing with like Yuji Nagata, Satoshi Kojima represents New Japan as part of international talent exchanges. There are ways to continue to promote older talent and to get them on the show and to get them involved in aspects of the show that help her, help the promotion raise in status. I don't feel like the Hurt Syndicate right now, a trio of not even middle-aged men. Like we're getting to the point where they are senior citizens. They are 50. They are knocking on that door, so to speak. I feel like we're at a point where we don't need to be putting the belts on them at this point in their careers, and instead could be part of the trio situation to help elevate those belts some. Because I think Bobby, MVP, and Shelton still have a lot of credibility. But when you're the AEW World Tag Team Champions and you're going on second and you're having one of the least impressive matches, I think that's not exactly a good thing. And while the Hurt Syndicate's still wildly popular, as they should be, I feel like they should be on a different scenario. Like I think looking at what Cope did, Adam Copeland with the Trios Championship, I think that's a way to go, but maybe not with FTR because I feel like FTR can still go a little bit. But like, if you're not gonna put the world title on Cope, then maybe him, the Hurt Syndicate. I think they could help raise the trio titles up, and then you put the tag titles on the guys like Private Party, the Outrunners, and you start building up the tag team division around younger outfits who can be around for 5 to 10 years. I
Yeah.
thought I was unimpressed with this match,
How do
truthfully.
you? Yeah, I mean they're supposed to be billed as the most dominant, and they've looked that way. Um, but they needed help with and this is no knocking the Big Redwood, Big Bill, and the
Brian Keith.
Outlaw. Brian Keith, yeah, thank you. But they needed help with those two from MJF, who I don't know why I feel like this is just something for him to do.
Agreed. And like, what's the end game? Is he going to join the Hurt Syndicate?
Yeah, it's just yeah, that's like when Adam Cole joined Bullet Club. It wasn't fit. It was a bad choice. I don't know who made that decision, but whatever. Yeah, but like you said, I don't know because they probably, to your point, they probably knocked off the team to get the titles that they should have probably been elevating in Private Party.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
So now, so now it's like unless they're gonna take this to a point where, and I don't know why they would because he already had the tag titles where they're not gonna let MJF in. He goes and gets a partner and then comes back and beats them by cheating, and then he's back in the tag scene. I don't know who you're gonna have beat these guys, and 100% make it believable. God forbid they put it back on the Bucks, but they got such a hard on with those two. So, you know,
Yeah, I don't see that happening. It would be interesting to see MJF win his first AEW tag title, though. But considering the talent they have in that division right now, I
no,
feel
remember he
like
won with Adam Cole. Or was that the ROH tag title?
I think that may have been Ring of Honor World Tag Titles.
Okay, yeah, you might be right about that. Yeah,
Let me double check. 'Cause Adam Cole recently won a belt. We'll get to that here in a second. Uh, yeah, he won the tag titles with MJF, the Ring of Honor tag titles.
gotcha.
Completely forgot about that. Completely forgot about that. So I would have them in the trios division, and I would have them away from the tag title situation, and I would allow younger tag teams to step up and actually take over that division. But that's just me. I feel like what they're doing with the Death Riders in that division is what you should be doing as kind of like the template. Because like, listen, I know a lot of people are like, "Oh, you should put the title on Claudio. Claudio is so talented. Oh, you should put the title on Pac. Pac is so talented." And like, listen, they are. They're arguably great. They are not, however, draws, and they are not, however, interesting. So you can put them in a six-man tag match with an up-and-comer like Wheeler Yuta. I think Wheeler's like 30 now. He's 28. He'll be 29. So like I feel like maybe Wheeler being a young, it may not be accurate. Up and comer, sure, but like that's what you should be doing. You should have guys like the Hurt Syndicate, Jericho, maybe Adam Copeland and Christian, in divisions that need to elevate titles. And I feel like the AEW tag team title doesn't need to be elevated. It needs to elevate talent. And I feel like you're not elevating talent with the Hurt Syndicate because you know, they're both on the downside of their careers. So, like, what are we even doing here? That being said, I will say this though, I started to turn the corner a little bit on Mercedes Monet. I still think her CEO gimmick is done and will well pass its sell by date. But her pairing with Harley Cameron has brought Harley Cameron has brought out a whole new side of Mercedes that either I've never seen before or I've just not seen and she's been doing it. Because
Yeah,
I'm not gonna sit here and say I've watched every episode of NXT. I haven't.
yeah,
She has brought out so much in her though, and to find out Mercedes came up with the Monet puppet.
yeah.
Oh, so good.
You almost kind of also kind of when you see something like that, it kind of leans into like when you all the flack that she's gotten for her attitude and stuff over the years, which we probably had a lot of validity to it. But she also comes off like one of those people that will have those attitudes and be somebody that's not necessarily the best to work with, quote unquote, heavy on the air quotes, when she's bored
Mm-hmm.
or she doesn't have somebody like a Cameron who she can not only help but really elevate because she's always talking about wanting to help women's divisions and elevate them. And Harley Cameron represents all of that. She's young, she's hungry, she's uber talented. Um, she's only gonna get better in the ring. She got all the charisma, all the like the girl. I think maybe speaks multiple languages. She does the puppeting thing, which is insane in itself. And she just is so many different ways they can play with and go with her. And she's clearly put a different energy in Monet to your point, like you said that the Monet thing, the CEO thing, is like what we got with Cope. You didn't really switch nothing up. You just called it something else.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah,
And I do think you can play the hits, right? You can play the hits. The
yeah,
problem is when you're only playing the hits, there's a certain expectation of you that you should not be doing more than.
yeah,
And I feel like Jericho is another example of this. Like, play the hits. And you can do that by wrestling for the Ring of Honor World Television title or, wrestling for the Trios Championships. That's where contributions will be most felt. So I feel like when it comes to the Hurt Syndicate specifically, six-man tags. But when it comes to Mercedes Monet, I feel like she has found a new gear because she's no longer just playing the hits, and she needs to continue to advance past the CEO boss mentality and into something new. Evolution in wrestling keeps you young. You will never be seen as an out of date, expired commodity if you continue to evolve. It's why Sting stuck around for as long as he did and was as beloved as he was. He didn't just keep doing the Surfer Sting stuff for 40 years. So I feel like sometimes you need to know what you are and where you can go, and I feel like sometimes some people just rest on their laurels, and it's good to see that Mercedes isn't going to fall into that trapping. Her match with Julia Hart was good. Um, I don't know if Julia Hart has the personality or the charisma needed to be a top girl in this company, but she definitely had a good showing with Mercedes, and I think that's more than a lot of people will say. The death.
yeah.
Go on.
She's young. She's been a champion before. She's got a lot of potential, a lot of years to get better. But she, for her being as good as she is, young, she's one of the ones they could be leaning on in the future. But Monet is just she got the crown right now. So yeah,
She does. Now we just need to see more of Julia Hart's personality because I feel like right now she's the cool blonde goth chick, but like we need more.
yeah, and she's suffering from the very shaky fallout of the House of Black,
Right.
which is still ongoing. So yeah,
So then we have the trio six-man tag titles. Death Riders defeated Rated FTR. It was fine. It certainly wasn't going to be on any of my match of the year contenders. Wheeler Yuta's, was at odds with everyone. Now he's back in form with everyone. FTR can still go. Copeland is still wildly popular. But the biggest storyline came out of it that FTR turned heel on Copeland after everything was said and done, writing him off television for a little bit. And now I'll say this: there's been a lot of people who are now talking about like, hey, maybe Edge and Christian will reunite. Maybe Copeland and Christian Cage will reunite in their war against FTR that Christian isn't really a part of yet. And like that could be cool for a little bit. I think the real money match is doing a TNA show with the Hardy Boys. I think Copeland and Christian versus the Hardy Boys could probably draw 8,000 people, but we'll probably never see it again. So that sucks.
yeah, that does suck. I didn't even think about that idea. I was just kind of thinking about the reunion of Edge and Christian against FTR, which may very well be where they're going because I mean half the reason why would a large majority of the reason why I think Edge came to AEW was to work with his brother.
Yeah.
Um, so them going through everything that they've gone through so far, not really clicking back into that in some form or fashion because it's not going to be the same because you got one guy basically doing a rated R thing in AEW and the other guys completely shifted with the turtleneck evil dad of it all. So that could very much be interesting. I can understand why FTR want to do that as well because they've kind of just been shifting as well. When they're not around the tag titles, they don't really have a narrative. So this could be something that's interesting for them. But I don't think their TV is gonna hurt by Edge not being there. That's just one less song for the crowd to sing.
And that's fair. And that is absolutely fair. So with that said, we move on to the next match, which was Megan Bayne versus Tony Storm. Megan Bayne is she understood the assignment. What did she call herself? The unicorn.
Yeah, she's that girl's scary. Lady, I said that lady's scary. She definitely understands who she is, what she should be in these moments. Because she's another one that doesn't talk, but it's not the Camille thing
Right.
either. So yeah, so and yeah, and Tony Storm is just ace. So yeah,
She's billed from Thessaloniki, which is in Greece. She looks fantastic. She's nearly 6 feet tall. She's got this towering physique,
mm-hmm.
and I think she is to AEW what everyone had hoped that Camille would be. Because Camille is almost 6 feet, if not taller.
Yeah,
But Bane, again, she understood the assignment. She looks like a
like a,
she like a superhero or a supervillain. Like she
like a
stands
legit
out.
Amazon.
Yeah,
Yeah,
she stands out. So I think there's a reason why she's in the position she's in right now. That being said, Timeless Tony Storm is still an ace talent. She came out dressed as Rocky and just had one of the most interesting matches I've seen in some time. Was Gangrel involved in this?
I don't know. I'd have to go back and look, but I wouldn't be surprised. They've been knocking everything out of the park. Oh, you talking about his That's her manservant. The dude in the white shirt with the gloves.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah, that's her manservant. I forgot his name, but yeah, they the way that
Luther.
she's been Luther. There it is. Yeah, the way that they've been properly milking everything out of this timeless gimmick, and the way to your point of reinventing little nuances with it ever so often in unique ways, which was a great move that she did come during that feud with Mariah, which she really just came off a match to be a candidate with her. Going back to that OG Tony Storm and then reverting back to this to kind of take it away from fans, make them salivate for it, and then jump back into it. But yeah, Megan Bayne is because I think she retained in this match, correct?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah,
Tony Storm went over
yeah.
on Mega Man.
Didn't necessarily beat her so much as I think escaped.
I think that'd be
Uh,
fair.
Yeah, so that works so they can prolong this. But yeah, man, she is absolutely Megan Bain is absolutely, and it sucks because you kind of root for Camille, and I don't know what's going on with that. But yeah, I think she is what they probably wanted Camille to be, and maybe she still can be down the line. But Bain is just she got all the calls right now, except obviously the title. Yeah, but she definitely got that Amazon style build. Like when you were talking about, 'em, like if she was in Xena, she would have been the head of the Amazons, and they would have fought at the
Yeah.
end of the episode. Yeah. So yeah.
Yeah, that's fair to say. All right, we move on to uh, who is it? Kyle Fletcher versus Mark Briscoe. I know Mark Briscoe has his fan following. I feel like him being involved in this Owen Hart tournament is completely unnecessary. There are better options for it. I know a lot of people really like this match. I thought it was fine. I don't think Mark Briscoe is the worker everyone likes to assume he is. That being said, I think Kyle Fletcher is developing into one of the best wrestlers in the world.
Yeah.
He's incredible, and him coming
Hmm.
out in the Owen Hart pink, great. What I will say is, I think someone should have a conversation with Billy Gunn and ask him where he was, say, what, 26 years ago, 27 years ago, give or take, in Australia. You know,
Not the third lost gun brother.
I mean, he looks just like them. So, like, yeah, maybe. Fletcher advances into the tournament. That takes us to the Ring of Honor World Title match. I thought this was a fine match. I don't think Chris Jericho's a great worker, and I'm not going to sit here and defend that because like he's not. He has fallen off significantly. But also, I thought his match with Bandito was solid. I thought it was really solid. Could have main evented a collision or a dynamite
Yeah.
and not been put off by it.
Yeah.
So like I don't get the hate for this match. I don't.
I don't think it's the match. I think because he's another one that can turn it on when he needs to, even at his age and stage.
Mm-hmm.
It's his popularity that's weighing the hell. The
Yeah.
only thing that's been killing their TV more than this Death Rider business is the learning tree, and it's not gotten good. It's to the point where the audience like you could at least play the damn song we all want to sing along to. You don't even give us that anymore. So, it's him. It's not the match because, like I said, when Chris got the right opponent and he needs to turn it on, he can. But they just tired of him.
I I remember when this company started, there was some genuine concern that Jericho would be touring too much to be a valuable commodity for Ring of Honor. And now I feel like,
He's not
yeah,
doing
he
enough.
should he should he should tour. He should go. That being said, I still think there's value with him. I know I'm in the minority in that, but like, could you imagine Edge, Christian, and Jericho teaming up to win the trios championship?
Yeah, it's they definitely need to do something else with him because his the situation that they've been constantly putting him in. It's like that first season. It's like what happened with Riverdale. Like I remember us praising the first season, and then it just progressively kept getting worse
Oh yeah.
after that. And that's how it's been with his factions. The first one was straight, second one was like the hell, and this third one is like you could be doing something else with Brian Keith, who could really is somebody who could be catching fire in the Owen and potentially Big Bill, but they're saddled with Jericho, who really just seems like an artist without a muse at this point. And to your point, maybe him going away and touring and doing cruises other places, because it's not like he don't keep 15 different endeavors in his back pocket. Like he's somebody that could definitely use some time on TV. So
I agree. I absolutely
yeah,
agree. We move on though. Bandito wins. By the by, his finisher, his mask. I think he has the best mask in all of Lucha Libre, and his finisher is so fucking impressive. That's all that needs to be said though. Adam Cole defeats Daniel Garcia in a very mid match. I I don't know why people want to bestow the aspect that is the next Brian Danielson onto Daniel Garcia. I don't see it. I think he's fine. I think he's got a little bit of a personality. I don't think he has a lot of personality. I think the TNT title right now, not permanently, but for at least right now, is the highest you can expect Daniel Garcia to go. And I think Adam Cole going over was more than likely the right call because there's more meat on the bones for Adam Cole than there is for Daniel Garcia at the moment. So I think this was ultimately the right call, but it was not an impressive match. I think Garcia has a lot of room to grow. I think he needs some time to develop a personality that goes beyond just the whole like stupid little dance he does.
Yeah,
And I think if he's able to do that, then maybe Garcia can take the next step, and surpass this belt. But for right now, yeah, these are TV title champions, and they should be.
100% agree. 100% agree that Garcia still got room to go and grow. Maybe switching up some character narratives with him would be a way to refresh him, which could potentially be. Because this was a situation where Cole wasn't going to get any more title shots had he lost his match. So maybe if he has a rematch and then loses, he got to go back to the drawing board and he can kind of, like I said, go back and rework some character stuff. As for Cole, this is the best spot for them to put him in because the last spot, and anybody long time listening know, we are not Cole guys here.
No.
Um, I get how people feel about him and felt about him in the past, but that's another one of those things where the positions he was in was because whoever was behind it was telling you he was the guy, as opposed to actually being that guy. Not saying he can't go because he can, but nothing stands out about Adam Cole. And certainly not on this roster. So I think one thing that they did in terms of both for the title picture and him was get him out of the world title picture and put him here. And again, he's another one where it's like everywhere he goes, he seemingly does the same thing, where he kind of just revitalizes a version of the Kingdom of Undisputed Era, and that's exactly what he did here. And this is probably the best place for him outside of either the tag team or trio. So, yeah,
That takes us to the match of the night, the triple threat involving Ricochet, Kenny Omega, and Speedball Mike Bailey. Somebody commented a couple weeks ago, I don't even get the hype with Mike Bailey. You're an idiot. You're just stupid. The Ricochet going full, at least on screen, Andrew Tate, but like goofier, I think has worked.
uh,
I still don't think he's a great promo, but he's brought a lot more personality to this role than he ever has before.
it's the most interesting he's been since he was Prince Puma.
I well, let's be honest. Prince Puma wasn't interesting. It was a crutch to help him get over, but his talent was what got him over, not
Yeah,
not his personality or gimmick. But this is the most interesting he's been as a personality. That
yeah,
that being said, Kenny Omega proved he can still go. Even though he's 40 and is recovering from diverticulitis, and nearly died from it, he still has everything about him that you want him to have, except for the theme song. Why are we trying to get rid of theme songs we like? Battle Cry is one
yeah.
of the 10 best wrestling themes of all time.
Oh, absolutely, and played all the way through too.
Yeah.
Which you can't always say for people's things, specifically when it's not a hit right out bat. But yeah, I got a thing we I do when I'm on a True Finish show when a match is just so good. It's like I can't really talk about it. You just got to go watch it,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what this match is. You gotta go watch it. Now, whoever said that about Mike Bailey, me and Chad looking at you like, hey Benny, on the wrong side of the river again, huh? Just can't.
Elgato, looks like I got all the horses. Hey, Benny, looks like you're on the wrong side of the river.
Just love being over there, huh? Yeah, that's what. Yeah, but like, yeah, this is. It's been real interesting watching Ricochet in this role. Till he's been eating it up because it's been something he's actually been able to chew on and not just, hey, everybody, look at me doing a 630. Uh, Mike Bailey is ace, and I love that he's using that like a reworked version of his Cyclone kick as a finisher now.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so that gives him like a third finisher along with the diving knees and the flamingo driver he does. So yeah, this match is just ace. This is under this match of the year candidate, probably the match of the night. Um, yeah, it was just and Kenny Omega is just it's really cool to see him back. They needed him. He was he's an injection they needed back in the show. Now, if they could just book other stuff better, they'd be on flame. What you think about the post match though?
Okada coming down, super cool. Honestly, now where it goes from here, and it's anyone's guess. But I am excited about the possibility. That being said, I'm sure you're wondering what a place like me is doing in a girl like this. That is my girlfriend's favorite movie, so anytime I can work it into conversation, I'm going to. Main event, we're not going to talk about it much because it wasn't good. Moxley defeated Swerve Strickland, but there were some aspects about it I liked. One, the older Static Shock look from Justice League that he pulled out. Love that.
Sick.
Not sure why Powerbomb Jitsu has such a hate boner for him. Don't get
Yeah,
it.
I think. Yeah, I think they talked about him saying like he been kind of like Booker T in the past about some stuff related to being black. Like in the past, it was like some real off color comments he made, and some stuff he did on social media. And then now all of a sudden, because it's working for him narratively, he's very pro black. So they look at him as like two faced.
Nah, that's fair. But also, I'm not black, so I'm not going to have an opinion on that. I think he's wonderful. I think
Yeah,
Swerve is fantastic. I think he's an A tier talent. And the look. If he could find a way to like incorporate a style like the Static Shock look into his, like that'd be dope. He looks so
yeah,
cool. The match itself wasn't bad, and that's the thing I kind of want to point out. Like the issue with this is the decision makings. That said, I loved how they did the whole thing at the end with like Adam Page ran down and it was like this whole thing like who's he gonna hit? And I saw a lot of people online were like, well, he helped Swerve and they ruined it. He didn't help Swerve though.
he didn't help him. No.
He came down and he was unsure, and then the Death Riders made that decision for him. So there's still that angle to play. So I don't know why people are like, and I think the only person that you could say is, the fans are fed up with as much as Mox is the Young Bucks. So how does the match end? Swerve gets taken out by the Young Bucks. And I think a lot of people are just annoyed about that because like these are all people that no one likes. But seeing Joe, Shibata, and Hook run down and help out was great. Seeing Paige involved was great. I think there's truly a whole lot of potential here. But at the exact moment, Moxley is so bland as a heel that I think he's
Yeah.
just upset people too much for anyone to care.
Yeah, we talked about this, a while back, well, not too far back, about what this started as. We don't think it went the way it was fully planned to go, and then Mox just had to keep carrying it
Mm-hmm.
with the Death Rider stuff. And God bless him, he does what he needs to do, and he shows up and he's there every week and he's talking and he's doing the matches, but it's killing it. It's coming off of the Bryan thing, which everybody loves to win. I don't think people really felt like they got the full payoff from that either, because I would have loved to see another match between him and Swerve, where Swerve eventually got him. But there is a way to do it and get it back to Swerve and give us the second part or the third, whatever chapter we're in with the Hangman Swerve book. That's where this needs to go. That's
Yeah.
ultimately where this needs to go. It's the best thing you got going. The fact that and clearly that's where the most thought is being put in, because you saw what they did there. Like you said, it got teased. Just the whole, even the thing before that backstage where finally like Swerve broke the ice with to telling him he knows he was in the wrong. He basically admitted fault, and it pushed um Hangman back a bit. It kind of almost reminded me of like when Buzz realized he was a toy in the first movie. Kind of pushed him back mentally a little bit. He didn't know what to
Mm-hmm.
do. And then so now it's like obviously it's gonna get to a point where he probably gonna have to help Swerve do it begrudgingly. It's the last thing he wants to do, but it also is the best way to get him back towards the title, because this whole thing with Moxley just feels like a never-ending tale that nobody wanted, a story that nobody wanted to be told in the first place. But now that they got the Bucks back, who may be probably the most consistently shitty caveat attached to stores. People want to go a certain way now, which apparently is their role now. They really need to eventually get this thing back to Hangman and Swerve, because ultimately that's what people want for all in Texas. Because I think they were supposed to be the main event for that last year,
Mm-hmm.
and it didn't happen. So, I think ultimately that's where the story goes. But with the way that they did this, who knows what Khan's thinking? And then you get him on these press conferences, and he looks baked to high hell. I don't know what it is. I don't know what he's on, but getting asked about his Waffle House order is the last of his words when it comes to these press conferences.
Wait, who got asked his Waffle House order?
No, that's that because I think you've seen a guy named Malcolm be in these press conferences asking people what their Waffle House order is. He asked them in the interview, but now he's asking their press conferences.
Yeah.
Tony got asked about it, and she kind of just went, "Oh my," she did a Tony Storm thing and didn't answer the question and walked off. But Tony, like I said, that's the least of his words at these press conferences because
Yeah.
people's like, they keep talking around what they need to directly ask him. Like, dude, nobody likes Moxley. You need to end this storyline instead. People like, how do you how do you feel when people don't necessarily like where you're going with the booking, and do you take that into consideration? It's like Jesus Christ, just say it, just say it. Because trust me, he's getting cooked online, cooked. Not as
Yeah.
much as he's absolutely clearly cooking with whatever he's taking, but yeah,
Not great. So that being said, apparently also, what's Leo Rush in Action Andretti's tag name? The Crew?
yeah, it's CRU. It's
Yeah.
not. I don't know who came up with that, but yeah,
Yeah, it's whatever.
it,
Um, I thought Action Andretti was still with Top Flight, so I don't know what happened there. Apparently, I'm not watching enough AEW. So, like, okay. That being said, we're going to talk about one more show tonight. MLW had their Battle Riot, which I think is their biggest or second biggest show. It's definitely the one they spend their most money on. Um, Alexander Hammerstone returned to the promotion after a failed run in TNA, and I don't know why TNA fumbled this so hard. I really don't. The dude is so fucking talented, but what have you. Basically, it was a solid show. I liked it. It's free on YouTube. Go check it out. Atlantis Jr. and Star Jr. defeated Ultimo Guerrero, Barbaro, Cavanaro, and Magnus in a pretty fun trios match that the LA fans really enjoyed. The Luchadors were very popular tonight, or at least that night. Janai Kai defeated Himawari in a singles match. I think I pronounced that right. Templario defeated. I found out that his name means what the fuck was it? Like not magician, like warlock. I think. Hishireo.
interesting, interesting. You'd be proud of me because I actually watched the show.
Oh, did you?
Uh, yeah, yeah, good stuff. Janai Kai won as predicted. Kind of felt like a foregone conclusion. Not the other women's match so much. Uh, but yeah, I like Templario because I like the Templar Knights of it all.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and he looks cool. Like all these luchadors was cool, but it's glad he won. That was cool. Like you said, very popular. What you said his name means?
Yeah, Hishario. It stands for wizard or warlock, is what they said on
Mm,
commentary. And like
mm,
apparently that plays into his gimmick. He's a heel or a rudo, if you will, and they call him the Wizard of Technical Rudo Wrestling because he's a technical wrestler, but he's a heel, which isn't very common. So it's cool to see him getting some play, especially because like he's been around for a while. Like this man's at least in his 40s. He's been wrestling
mm.
since 2001, and that was 23 years ago, 24 years ago.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Sabu was the magician, right? Or just the sheiks in general, or who those lineages.
I don't think they were wizards, but they did a lot with fireballs to the face. So Templario won the triple threat, and just before or after, I forget the order of things, Mystico announced that he was vacating the middleweight championship and will be focusing on the world title scene in MLW going forward. And considering how popular Mystico is right now, especially considering how much of a draw he is for MLW, I would not be surprised if he beats Riddle for the belt. I really wouldn't.
Do you how do you settle out that middleweight situation then
I think
for
you
the
have
title?
Templario win it. I think he
Nice.
was going to win it until Mystico got hurt. And instead of prolonging the lack of Mystico in the main event scene, I think they're gonna do what they're gonna do and have him move to the main event scene for the summer for their next set of shows. And I think that's how Riddle loses the belt. Hopefully, because I don't like Riddle. So yeah, we'll see about that. Uh, then we have, let's see, Shoko Nakajima defeated Delmi Exo to win the MLW Women's Featherweight Championship. I do believe that both Himawari and Nakajima are from TJPW, which is like the women's promotion in Japan. I think it's like Tokyo Jitsu Pro Wrestling or something like that.
Yeah.
Tokyo Joshi Pro Wrestling, not Jitsu. So they have a big, like MLW is relying heavily on their on their CMLL and TJPW partnerships. And I think if they're going to put the belt on Nakajima right now, I think you can expect Mystico to also win the belt, even though he wrestles for CMLL as opposed to Nakajima, who wrestles, of course, for TJPW. That takes us to the Battle Riot, though, which is the part of the show that I think everyone should be hyped for. Hammerstone came in first. That was dope. And then the first person he faced off with was the former Jinder Mahal. The walking proof that if a title can't die by a bad title run, then John Moxley certainly can't kill the AEW title because Raj Deshi was a terrible world champion in WWE. He didn't kill his belt. Just saying. Um, that being said, it was cool to see Dashi and Hammerstone square off, mostly because of the fact that these dudes are jacked. So that was cool to see. Then we got Atlantis Jr., Virus, Jesus Rodriguez, Star Jr., Esfinji, I think is how you pronounced it. Ikiro Kwan, Barbaro Cavanero, Blue Panther, Magnus, Juicy Finoa, Ultimo Guerrero, Atlantis, Hishareo, I think I butchered that again, Alcamura, Ariel Dominguez, Mr. Thomas, the partner of Alex Kane. This was a big one. Journey Fatu debuted in MLW. He is Jacob Fatu's brother, I think they said. And he's massive. And Hammerstone power slammed him, and everyone went nuts. So that was cool. Then we got Bobby Fish and C.W. Anderson. Then another surprise, the former Chris Masters, Chris Adonis. He popped up in MLW making his debut. Then we got Paul Walter Hauser, Brett Ryan Goslin, Matt Riddle, Brock Anderson, Paul London, Alex Kane, Matthew Justice, Satoshi Kojima, the former Baron Corbin, now Bishop Dyer. He's in cahoots with um, shit, I can't remember his name. Donovan Dijak.
Uh, yeah.
And if they're a tag team, that'll be dope. Kushida,
Hmm.
Shane Haste, Mads Cruel Kruger, Tom Lawler, the aforementioned Dijak, Anthony Green, Titus Alexander, who's I think a prospect people should be watching out for. Dr. Dax, who was a member of I think it was like Raven's calling group. And then Rob Van Dam made his MLW debut as the last entrant in the Battle Riot. What I will say is I enjoyed the Battle Riot. There was a spot with Matthew Justice that didn't go the way that I think they wanted to. And I was a little shocked that Akira wasn't in this Battle Riot. But like I think he's also doing a tour of Japan at the moment. That being said, and maybe he's just done with the AEW, with MLW, I don't know. That being said, what I will say is I did not like the final way that they did the last four or five. One, they eliminated the Hammerstone 28th, which I thought was stupid. Two, the final four were Rob Van Dam, Dyer, Dijak, and Riddle. And instead of it being a situation where Dijak and Dyer had to fight Riddle, for the final three. They ended up both getting eliminated by the Riddle and Rob Van Dam, meaning that Dijak and Dyer were out of the match pretty quickly. Well, not pretty quickly. Were the third and fourth last person thrown out of the match, resulting in a 7 or 8 minute span where it was Riddle versus RVD. And like that's cool and all, but like RVD's not young. He's 53.
Yeah, he looks old in the face now.
Yeah, yeah, he does. He really fucking does. RVD is 54. He'll be 55 this year, and he moves like he's 54. He's still good enough that if you wanted to put him on the show somehow, like, yeah, okay, he's not gonna stink the place up, but putting him in the final part of the battle riot against your top guy, I wouldn't say was the right way to go. And I think it took away a little bit of what they're building to with Dyer and Dijak with Riddle. Still, I think it was cool, and if that's the only time you get RVD in an MLW ring, at least you had a little bit of a moment to it. But I think they prioritized that little moment over their general story progression with where they're going with Riddle and the world title sequence. So I thought it was still a good show, though. What did you think?
Yeah, agreed. Like I said, I wanted to because we feel like we talk about MLW all the time. You always give them shine, and I've been meaning to watch something, and I ended up jumping in here. Kind of got off put immediately by Austin Aries on commentary.
Oh yeah, I
Uh,
completely forgot about that.
I was going to
Apparently,
ask you because I was, yeah,
Well, apparently he was dealing with like some type of stomach bug at the same time, and like he was dealing with a severe migraine, but he didn't want to miss the show because of how important it was as part of his debut. But also,
yeah,
beyond just his reputation, I think one of the biggest issues with Aries was his commentary itself, which I don't think he's bad at.
yeah,
We've heard him do good commentary. I think he was bad on this night. And I think when you realize that he was dealing with so much other stuff in that moment, like just physical pain and exhaustion, and what have you, it makes sense. I thought he was fine, but I expected better. Still, what I will say is that I'm open to Austin Aries being part of the commentary team, and I'm open to Aries being part of the roster going forward, as long as he keeps his nose clean.
nice, yeah. When I thought he did, good enough, and kudos to him for keeping to his commitment even under the stress. I thought he worked fine when he wasn't, intentionally trying to be condescending as it just point it feels like he naturally is.
Mm-hmm.
I thought he worked, So yeah, just I didn't think it was gonna be as many familiar faces across this show as there were for me. So that was also another cool element. So yeah, and Bishop Dyer, put your top back on. I don't usually go there when it come to dudes, but put your top back on, man, please.
Oh, dire. Overall, I thought it was a solid show. I'm excited to see
Yeah,
where we go from here, but I do feel like with Alex Kane, Hammerstone, Mystico, Dijak, I feel like you got a lot of better options than Riddle to be your world champion, and I really need
yeah,
them to not with Riddle.
yeah. And quick question here, because and obviously yes, it's gonna be a bit of bias here because you've just been tuned in MLW for years now. But even with me not seeing him there, it just felt like Hammerstone just fit better here.
He does, because they promote him and push him like a star. If you noticed, he came out wearing like almost like white jeans with like an American flag look to it.
Yeah,
And like he had an actual look to him. In TNA, they just gave him black trunks and they're like, "Go be a big muscle guy." And I'm like, they just nerfed all his personality. Like he is a rock star Hulk Hogan type of character, minus the racism. And I feel like when you neuter someone and their best aspects, all you're gonna end up getting is someone who is kind of lacking.
yeah,
And whether it was his idea or TNA's idea to have him kind of just be another guy, I feel like that bit him in the ass, and I feel like in MLW they let him kind of let loose with a unique style and a unique look all his own. So I'm excited because like hey, who knows? Maybe he'll win the world title again, which I hope he does because I love watching Hammerstone. So All right, Marcus. That takes us to the end of what I had planned for tonight's show. Is there anything else you want to touch on before we head out?
Yeah, just sending out condolences, RIP, to long time notable fellow wrestling podcaster Kevin Castle. He passed away this week, so long time guy with Don Tony and Kevin Castle and the Wrestling Soup and all those guys. So um, yeah, just RIP to him. We on it's always interesting when we kind of lose people in this particular space. We always talking about wrestlers
Mm-hmm.
that we lose, but lose them on these podcasts, but losing guys on the other side is always it's not something that happens often, but when it does, it's certainly something. And because he was known for so long and had such an impact, just being I guess one of the forebearers in the podcast space when it comes to wrestling that I listen to semi frequently over the years, it certainly hits. So just R.I.P. to him and to all those guys and his family and stuff.
When did he start doing podcasting? Do you know?
I want to say maybe in the early 2000s, if not earlier than that, maybe.
Oh, yeah, it says mid 2000s.
Yeah.
Let's see. Because I started in 2009. Oh, it looks like they started in 2024. Or, no, not 2024. 2005, 2004. So like, yeah, he's got me
Yeah.
beat. The first podcast I remember listening to, it wasn't actually a podcast. It was two TNA fans.
Mm.
They were the only. It was like 2006. They were the only ones really talking about TNA, to the point where TNA's website would actually, host their videos that they post. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, I'm sure you would be aware, but I ended up stumbling across both Don, Tony, and Kevin Castle shows, as well as other wrestling shows on the classic YouTube channel TV Tracks. I don't
Mm,
know if you were familiar with them,
I am
but
not.
yeah, that's how I ended up finding it. It was just a channel that kind of migrated a lot of wrestling podcast clips all in one hub. So yeah, that was but yeah, two TNA guys. That is that's funny.
Yeah, if I can ever find out what happened to them, I'll let you know. So, all right, with all that being said, we're out of here for the night. Website's realnerdcorp.com, REALNERDCRP.com. You can find us on Twitter at NERDCRP. Marcus, you're on Twitter at ParadoxKid, ParadoxKid.
That's me.
You can also find them on this other podcast, the previously mentioned True Penny Show, TruePennyShow. They post shows to their Twitter account, X account, whatever you want to call it, whenever they post a new show. So go check them out when you can. You can find me on Twitter at Chad Nerdcorp, CHDNERDCORP, and on the Instagram at Chad Spotto at CHDSPHOTOHUT. We're also on the website, which I already mentioned. Yeah, that's everything. So thanks for tuning in. Thanks for checking us out. Thanks for giving us a chance. Remember, as always, to watch more wrestling. And Marcus, take us home.
Good.